Hi everyone, my name is Ariana Sweetenich.
And I'm Emily Payton.
Today we will be sharing who we are, where we came from, and what this means to us.
My father's side of the family is mostly Scottish and English, and my mother descends from French ancestors. Over generations, a tradition has grown from this French history, a celebration of Mardi Gras with a king's cake. Every year, my extended family gathers together to enjoy a delicious treat, a ring-shaped cinnamon roll filled with cream cheese, my mother's twist on the traditional recipe. As a child, my mother celebrated Mardi Gras with a similar king's cake, which my grandmother prepared.
I come from two very different cultures. My father is from Croatia, while my mother is from Peru. They both came to the US in their 20s, which makes around 28 years of their living here. They both came here to make a better life for themselves, believing in the ideal of the American dream. Shortly after they made their moves, their parents followed. Every time I visit my dad's parents, my grandma has a tradition of giving me gifts in a very specific way.
Zatvori oči, pruži ruku. Bravo.
Okay, thank you.
Hvala.
Hvala, that's thank you in Croatian.
Yeah.
She says, Zatvori oči, pruži ruku, which is a Croatian phrase that literally translates to, extend your hand, close your eyes. Every time she says this, I do as she says, and my open and extended hands are promptly given some sort of small gift. This can range from chocolate to money to any small souvenirs she might have brought back from her last travel trip.
For their celebration of the Epiphany, my great-great-grandfather would prepare a galette de roi, or king cake, to honor the three kings who, in Christian tradition, bore gifts 12 days before Christmas. After his family immigrated to the United States, they continued the tradition while living in Boston before moving to New Orleans, where Francophone culture was robust. During their first few years in New Orleans, Pierre's family celebrated the Epiphany with a traditional Northern French galette de roi, attempting to preserve their French heritage. By tradition, the cake consisted of puff pastry layers with an apple or frangipane center. The galette de roi was divided into enough shares for everyone to have a slice, in addition to one designated piece for a homeless person.
So two of these little charms will be hidden in the cake that I'm about to make.
A bean, or fève, remained hidden until one lucky individual found it in a bite. While Pierre's family was celebrating a traditional French Epiphany, inhabitants of New Orleans were beginning to celebrate carnival season with a king's cake. Several years after Pierre's family moved to New Orleans, they began preparing the cake around carnival season, adopting the New Orleans cultural practice. Pierre's daughter continued the tradition with her family, passing it on to my grandmother, her daughter, who continued the tradition with her own family. My mother brought the tradition to our family, and we now treat the King's Cake celebration as non-religious.
Croatian culture places a big emphasis on gift giving as a central cultural tradition. Giving and receiving are very important to Croatians. Like, is it customary in Croatia to give gifts a lot?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We like to take and give.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know what much more
Mm-hmm.
take or give. No, really.
It is customary for guests to always bring presents to their hosts, or for travelers to always bring back gifts from their trips for friends and family. This giving and receiving creates a sense of community and makes the love and relationships tangible. My grandmother believes that the two most important things in life are love and family. That is the whole reason she made her move to America, for her family. My grandmother grew up during the war. This harsh reality of war changed my grandma as a person. She barely had enough to eat, so now she greatly values everything that she has and can give to her family. For this reason, she constantly makes an effort to give gifts to her family, because she did not have this luxury of receiving gifts as a little girl herself. And can you talk a little bit about how hard it was growing up during the war?
This last one,
No. When you were little.
World War.
World War II, yes.
How it was?
Yeah.
Awful. It was terrifying. It was. I was little when war finished. I was 10. But when it started, I was 5. These 5 years, I was hungry. In the end, I didn't know what hunger is because I never have to eat anything and very scared.
To my grandmother, her tradition of Zatoriochi Pujiruku is more than a simple gift exchange. It is a symbol of love and giving of oneself for their family.
With the evolution of the king's cake as a symbol of new understanding for the Epiphany to a Mardi Gras commodity, much of its hidden history has been lost. The Epiphany marks the day when 3 wise men brought gifts to baby Jesus. Originally, the king's cake was made to represent the kings who brought the gifts. What was once a holiday of charity has become a holiday of indulgence in many households. Its rise in popularity is largely due to its association with Mardi Gras, similar to carnival beads and floats. Competition among bakeries has increased dramatically, and the traditionally dry cake has evolved into a rich, sweet delicacy. In the midst of this overindulgence in consumerism, my family has tried to remain humble with tradition by giving back to our communities during the Mardi Gras season. We see this as a way to maintain some of the history of the Galette du Roi without its religious connotation.
Talking about our own families and traditions can be fairly easy, but trying to understand another's tradition that we are unfamiliar with can be a bit more complicated. However, I attempted to get a better understanding of a typical Mexican tradition by interviewing one of the students from the ESL class I volunteer at for my Arupe. Her name is Lupita, and this is my interview with her. ¿Cuándo viniste a los Estados Unidos y por qué?
Hace 2 años, porque me casé con un ciudadano de aquí.
¿Qué fueron unos problemas que teniste cuando viniste aquí de adaptar y todo eso?
La educación vial, el idioma en primer lugar, todo, las costumbres, la cultura.
¿Qué es una tradición que tienes en tu familia que todavía continúas?
El Día de Muertos, que es en noviembre, se ponen las fotos de las personas que ya fallecieron y se les pone flores, cosas que a ellos les gustaban, flores. Hay quienes les ponen botellitas de tequila, un cigarro, pan de muerto, el tradicional pan de muerto y dulces.
¿Qué valores tienes en tu cultura que como conecta la tradición del Día de los Muertos a un valor de la cultura?
Bueno, un valor, ¿no? Recordar, enseñarles a nuestros hijos a seguir recordando a las personas que ya no están con nosotros. Es una tradición.
Croatia, France, and Mexico are 3 very different countries. They each have their own rich cultures and traditions. So how does intercultural communication work when cultures can vary so much? It is not about finding the similar values that we all appreciate and hold true. It is more about being open to learning about other cultures and what they value. When we are open to new ideas and ways of thinking, we learn more about the world and about ourselves and how our own cultures fit into the global scheme of things.
Coincidentally, though the world is large, its citizens are more connected than you would think. Here is a small portion of a TED Talk by New York Times bestseller A.J. Jacobs on ancestry and how family trees connect the world.
All of you have famous people and historical figures in your tree because we are all connected. And 75 million may seem like a lot, but in a few years, it's quite likely we will have a family tree with all almost all 7 billion people on Earth. It's really a fascinating time in the history of family because it's changing so fast. There's gay marriage and sperm donors, and there's intermarriage on an unprecedented scale. And this makes some of my more conservative cousins a little nervous. But I actually think it's a good thing. I think the more inclusive the idea of family is, the better. Because then you have more potential caretakers. And as my aunt's 8th cousin, twice removed, Hillary Clinton says, it takes a village.
We are all interconnected in some way or another. It is important to recognize this, appreciate this, and learn to peacefully interact because we are all a part of the large family of humanity. And, why did you come here?
Because my love are here. Andre,
My dad.
son, your daddy, Vesna,
Your daughter.
my daughter. And where my love is, this is my place to live.
My grandmother's wise words show the importance of loving your family. If we realize that the world is an extension of all our own families, we will be able to overcome any differences and build upon our strengths. Intercultural communication is the bridge between adversity and love.
There's nothing you can do that can't be done. Nothing you can sing that can't